Welcome to the November 2017 Crockers Property Investment Index Sales and Rents Report conducted by Ipsos New Zealand. Having a look at the sales numbers to start with in the Auckland region over the September period, and we see there that the sales activity did drop somewhat down to 1,679 properties sold. Now that dip in the September period is certainly not unusual. We saw it there from 2015 to 2016, and certainly it has continued into 2017. But overall we can see that the actual activity has been dropping back over the last 12 months or so, particularly looking at September to September year-on-year periods, down to its lowest point now that's recorded since probably January this year. So let's have a look at what's been happening to the median prices as a result. Unfortunately, those have not dropped by a similar amount. Clearly some demand out there keeping prices buoyant, not exactly climbing as high as in recent years, but certainly not dropping back drastically either, sitting there at $830,000 median price mark. So what are these property investors whom we surveyed from Crockers expecting from their rental properties over the next 12 months? Well, we see here that there's actually been an increase in positive sentiment there. So gradually we're seeing a overall improvements since July. Now with 33% of the 83 property investors we surveyed expecting their rental property investment to improve over the next 12 months. So does that mean they're necessarily going to be changing what they think in other regards? Well, we see here that those thinking things will get worse is essentially unchanged at 12%, and those thinking things will just be the same, slightly decreasing as well. So overall, a net improvement in expectations over the next 12 months. So what do these property investors actually plan on doing as a result? Do they want to increase, reduce, or make no changes to the size of their rental property investment? Well, we see here actually there's essentially no change statistically. Perhaps you could look at that as a slight decrease in those planning to increase the size of their portfolios, and a slight increase in those planning to reduce the size. So actually we're at a null point there with just as many people planning to increase as those planning to reduce the size of their investment portfolios. 66% they're planning no changes. So really when you add it all up together, you see that the optimists are exactly matched by the pessimists. Now they haven't been that close again since July. The last time they actually sort of matched each other was in March. So certainly things are getting a little mixed there with people not knowing what to expect. And we should add that this survey was conducted before the coalition government was announced. So perhaps it's to be expected that there were a few people just sitting tight and not quite sure what changes were going to come through. So in the end, it means that that investment index is certainly going up slightly. We did see that before with a slight increase in those planning to or expecting improvements, and therefore wanting to increase the size of their residential portfolio. But those planning to or expecting better versus worse returns, as we said before, were matched. So we've got a score there of 50. So it looks like it's gone down. Now this index is out of 100, so a score of 50 is indicating an exact balance between optimists and pessimists in terms of their expected returns over the next 12 months. So that was a bit lower in June. It was obviously a bit of a tough period when people expected the worst. Things haven't necessarily panned out that badly in terms of median prices, so it still seems to be that people are 50-50 on what it's going to mean for the actual property performance returns. So where would some investment locations be if these investors planned on actually enhancing or buying in new places? Well, central CBD apartments remaining, similar level, around about 20%. Apartments elsewhere going down. We do see a big increase here in other residential. So it looks like the suburban or non-central apartments and buildings are definitely preferred there. Okay, commercial becoming a little less popular in sentiment there. So when we saw that those anticipated improvements in rental returns were seen by some people there, what's actually happening? Well, we can actually see here that that the actual amount charged for Auckland two-bedroom apartments has gone up slightly from $479 to $484, so that's got to help the returns, especially if prices are staying much the same for actually purchasing. But we did actually notice a slightly larger increase in the two-bedroom rental properties charged elsewhere in the country. So when the remaining of New Zealand rents actually go up faster than those in Auckland, that Auckland premium has slightly gone down to 23%. In 3-bedroom properties, actually, it was a bit different there because the New Zealand 3-bedroom property rentals are exactly the same, stuck there on $450, and ever so slightly higher for the Auckland ones, going from $16 to $612, making for a very slight improvement in premium, but nothing really significant, still sitting there at $36. So if you want any more information about these sorts of issues, by all means contact Crockers.